30 seconds.
Okay. My name's Ryan Fox. My presentation is on the death of Microsoft. It's not Linux, it's certainly not Apple. The solution for killing Microsoft isn't another OS, it's taking that platform dominance away from them. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Does anybody work for Microsoft here? Anybody? Don't be embarrassed. Okay, we're just going to bash the shit out of them. Okay. I'm just some guy talking. I don't have any special qualifications that say, okay, this is why I think Microsoft is going to die and why I'm qualified to say that, but I have the microphone and you don't, so you're going to listen to me. Butt nozzle. Ha ha ha. Okay. So, why are we talking about this? This affects all of computing. This is the most important thing that any of us can deal with because Microsoft is the richest, most powerful company in the history of the world. When they collapse, it's going to be something that's studied in business classes and dissected to death. It'll be a turning point in computing and really modern civilization. It's like Rome falling. So let's go through some past threats to Microsoft. Say early 1980s, what threatened Microsoft? Anybody? Bueller? Apple. That was their first big threat. They had to fight against Apple. And really it was their biggest battle. They didn't have that market dominance to just brush everyone aside. It was a fight to the death. Apple, put up a great fight. Does anyone have a good reason of why Microsoft won that? What's that? IBM. Yeah, having IBM in the corner certainly helped.
Open systems and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah, open systems tend to beat out the proprietary. Another big thing, and kind of related to IBM, is that in 1984, nobody bought a home computer that didn't use the exact same thing at work. And Microsoft and IBM were terrific about developing business software. And near as I can tell, that's the biggest reason that the Microsoft won. And they really weren't threatened until late 90s. There was WordPerfect, some other applications, but really Microsoft just grabbed computing by the cojones and had their way with us. Now, 1997, or late 90s, there was a big revolution, maybe you've heard of it, called the internet. Now, the biggest threat to Microsoft in that was Netscape, or so they thought. Netscape, through NCSA and Mosaic and finally Netscape, built a great browser which was, the great content delivery mechanism for the internet, and of course the internet's wonderful. And Microsoft fought dirty and succeeded with Internet Explorer, but it really ended up that the browser just isn't that important. It's the delivery mechanism, but the content is the thing with the value. Earlier against Apple, it was platform versus platform, but with Microsoft versus Netscape, it was a platform versus an application. At the introduction of the internet, 1997, early 90s, even, or late 90s, early 2000, if you ask someone to choose between having their web browser or the rest of their desktop applications, you would choose the desktop applications. And that's something that really isn't as prevalent today. It's kind of flip-flopped. You know, what's important? Well, if I had to choose, I'd choose my web browser. Everything that I can do on the desktop, I can do through the web browser if I absolutely have to. And it's worth mentioning Linux, you know, 2001-ish, Department of Justice has given up on Microsoft and the Internet Explorer debacle. But why hasn't Linux succeeded? Anyone? I'm not going to throw stuff at you.
Ponytails and sandals?
Well, yeah. You know, to random J computing person looking at, you know, who's developing an operating system, then there's, you know, the extension of Big Blue, there's Microsoft, versus, you know, some guy in sandals. There's, I can understand that. One of the things I wrote down was Linux is too tough for idiots. You know, it's one thing for us to use Linux, but, you know, whenever I hear somebody talk about, hey, I switched this person over to Linux, it's that they switch them over for this one specific task, and if they try to vary outside of that specific task, they can't do it. You know, maybe Linux peaked a bit too early. You know, newer, very friendly distros are a lot more easy for, you know, total idiots to use. You know, back in 2001, when Linux became popular with the mainstream media, you know, if you wanted to set Linux up on your computer, you probably needed to know what video card you had and what sound card you had. And, you know, everybody in this room can certainly do that, but our grandmas can't. So that's something I wrote down for why Linux never succeeded in really displacing Microsoft. I mean, the battle isn't all the way over, but I just can't imagine Linux pulling it out without, you know, assassinating Bill Gates and doing some other stuff. So, what can displace it? This is the only time I'm going to use this term, so listen carefully. Web 2.0. Okay, I won't ever say that again because it's such a horrible term. Nobody really has a good definition for it. It seems like a marketing thing. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But that's web technology stuff. Has a fighting chance at displacing Microsoft. So if nobody has a good definition for it, what is it? It's certainly not a technology like JavaScript. It's not even a collection of technologies like Ajax or LAMP is. It's really a collection of collections of technology. It's the things like social components, remixable data sources, software as a service, user-controlled data, and really the concept that any NetSpeed Internet application has more value the more people use it. BitTorrent, MySpace, all those things, eBay, have more value the more people use it. Traditional applications don't scale that way. Has anybody noticed the similarity between blogs and GeoCities? Just everybody has a blog, and GeoCities from like 1990, 95, it was just a random collection of everybody that wanted to put out their content, sort of like podcasting. The real difference, that the added technology, is that blogs put it into chronological order. Just like podcasting, where if you wanted to see like the newest thing, you know, with a blog, you go to it, the newest is at the top, you can see it. And that's the only difference between that and GeoCities. So it's interesting to think about one little change like that, how it can revolutionize a whole technology. So some of the newer Web 2.0 apps that are coming out. You know, Ajax Write is just terrific. You can use it as a word processor, but it's still at that point where it's if you have to. You don't want to use it every single day because it just drives you crazy. But it's so much closer than we were, you know, pre-Ajax, say Gmail, pre-network storage, where you know, a whole big giant application like Ajax Write 10 years ago, you know, you wrote it in Java and it took 5 minutes to download. And then you saved it to like your local sandbox, and hopefully you could save it there because, you know, you tried to restrict the Java. And, you know, it's getting a lot closer. The big things that Web 2.0 is missing right now is a nice big solid API to override everything, where, say from your Ajax Write, you can say, okay, I made this document, now let's send it to my blog, let's send it to my Gmail account and this contact on it through the single interface. And that's something that some of the newer platform and browsers are trying to do, the UOS.com, and trying to merge all of that. But where they're not succeeding is that they're trying to do the traditional mashup of using their existing services, using the APIs for Gmail, and trying to merge them all together, where really there needs to be someone who steps forward and say, okay, everybody that wants to talk together needs to do it this way. REST is a good protocol for doing that. If you're not familiar with it, REST sits on top of HTTP. Everything has an object, and everything uses the same methods like get, delete, put, and with that, as long as, say, services are advertising a consistent level of objects. Gmail has a /contact/ email address, and say to get the list of contacts, get /contact. To add contacts, same thing. I think once more web services start to use a very consistent method for doing that, then we'll be able to really further the platform in a browser. Go ahead.
So the question about Microsoft assuming dominance or being killed by all this. So their model has been win the war by brute force. You throw enough money at the problem and the problem goes away. So what's preventing them from co-opting these collection of collections, as you call it, and basically doing it and longer and harder and better than anybody else can until they've won this one again and push it to the side?
Yep, I'm getting there. I think that they will. You know, that's certainly what they've done in the past. And, you know, it's worked before, so I think that's what Microsoft will try to do to combat it. Microsoft does have that dominance, at least at the client end, and they do have a significant market share at the server end as well. Now, if you control one end of that, you can make the proprietary extension and hope that people use it. But when you control both ends of that communication, then you can do that proprietary on both ends and lock other people out of it. And that's what Microsoft will do. They don't have a lot of server market share, at least in comparison to the desktop. But fundamentally, that's kind of flawed. The biggest benefit of Web 2.0 is that services can interact with other services. That proprietary, let's lock everybody out, doesn't play well into that. So I think that we'll end up with sort of a fragmented web, i.e. Like the IE versus Netscape days, where as a web developer or a web application developer now,